This one-home business model outsmarts 9-to-5 jobs. The alarm hadn't even gone off yet, but she was already awake, not from excitement, from the weight of another day that would feel exactly like the last. The commute, the fluorescent lights, the meetings that could have been emails, and somewhere between the carpool lane and the cubicle, the quiet thought she kept pushing down, there has to be another way. She wasn't unhappy exactly, just numb. The paycheck arrived every 2 weeks like clockwork, but so did the feeling that her time wasn't really hers. That somewhere along the way she'd traded possibility for predictability, and the trade was starting to feel expensive. Her daughter had asked her that morning why she always looked tired. She didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, and it scared her too much to say it out loud. But something was shifting, not dramatically, not all at once. Just a quiet realization that had been building for months, maybe years, that the life she was living wasn't the only option, that the script everyone followed, school, degree, job, retirement, wasn't actually mandatory. It was just familiar. The coffee had gone cold again. Another morning balancing the noise of the house and the quiet questions she kept avoiding. Can I really build something of my own? She wasn't chasing millions, just freedom. The kind that fits between nap times and school pickups. The kind where she could be present when her kids needed her, instead of explaining why mommy has to work late again. The kind where her income didn't depend on asking permission to take a sick day. And then she found it. Not in a business book or a seminar, not from some guru selling a course. It came from a conversation with another mom at a birthday party, someone who seemed lighter somehow, less rushed, more present. The business model was simple. Almost suspiciously simple, and that's exactly why it worked. It was called digital arbitrage, but the name didn't matter. What mattered was this: she could take something valuable that already existed, make it slightly better or more accessible, and connect it with people who needed it. No inventory, no employees, no storefront, just her laptop, her judgment, and her willingness to solve small problems for real people. She started by noticing what people around her were struggling with. Her neighbor couldn't figure out how to organize family photos. Her sister needed help creating a simple website for her side hustle. A friend was drowning in administrative tasks for her small business. None of these were million-dollar problems, but they were $50 problems, $100 problems, and they were everywhere. The idea didn't come from a business book. It came from the mess on her kitchen table, the endless to-do lists, the half-finished projects, the realization that everyone she knew was overwhelmed in their own way, and most of them would happily pay someone to take just one thing off their plate. Part of her still felt guilty for wanting more, as if ambition had to disappear when motherhood began, as if choosing herself meant choosing against her family. The narrative she'd been fed her whole life was loud and persistent. Good mothers sacrifice. Good mothers put everyone else first. Good mothers don't have time for dreams. But she was learning something new. That resentment is expensive. That running on empty doesn't make you noble, it makes you unavailable. That her kids were watching her, learning what life could look like. And she wanted them to see someone who built something, not just endured something. What would you have done in her place? The first service she offered was template design. Simple, customizable templates for small business owners who needed professional-looking materials but couldn't afford a designer. She spent $40 on design software and 2 weeks learning the basics on YouTube. Her first client paid her $200 for something that took her 3 hours to create. The math was starting to make sense. According to recent market analysis, the global freelance economy is projected to grow to over $1 trillion, with women-led micro-businesses representing the fastest-growing segment. The barrier to entry has never been lower, and the demand has never been higher. Proof that clarity often beats capital. She wasn't competing with agencies or trying to undercut professionals. She was serving a different market entirely. People who needed good enough, fast enough, and affordable enough. People like her. Then came the doubt, the kind that whispers louder than failure. Who was she to charge money for this? She didn't have a business degree. She hadn't gone to design school. She was just a mom with a laptop and a Canva subscription. But her clients didn't care about her credentials. They cared about their problem being solved. And she was solving it. She smiled. Not because it was easy, but because it was finally hers. The second month, she expanded. She started offering social media management for local businesses. Just the basics. Scheduling posts, responding to comments, keeping their pages active. She charged $800 a month per client and took on 3, $2,400. For work she could do during nap times and after bedtime. Her husband had been supportive but skeptical. He didn't say it out loud, but she could feel it. The raised eyebrow when she talked about her business. The gentle reminder that his job had benefits and stability. The subtle implication that this was cute, but not serious. She almost gave up. Until one message changed everything. A client sent her a note thanking her for helping their small business finally feel visible online. They'd gotten 5 new customers that month directly from social media. 5 families fed because she'd spent an hour scheduling posts and engaging with comments. That's when it hit her. This wasn't just about her freedom, it was about contributing, about using her skills to help other people build their dreams too. Sometimes growth doesn't look like progress. It looks like staying. Staying curious when everyone else says to be practical. Staying committed when the numbers are still small. Staying open to the possibility that your life can look different than you planned. By month 6, she had a decision to make. Her home business was bringing in $4,000 a month. Her 9-to-5 was paying $42,000 a year before taxes. The math was close enough to be terrifying, close enough to be real. She ran the numbers 17 different ways. Best-case scenarios, worst-case scenarios. The middle ground where she got sick or a client left or the laptop died. She built cushion into her cushion. She talked to her husband. She cried twice. And then she made the call. Maybe success just wasn't meant for someone like her. That's what the voice said. The one that sounded like her mother, her old boss, the guidance counselor who'd steered her toward safe. But there was another voice now, quieter but steadier. The one that said, maybe success is exactly meant for someone like you. Someone who knows what it's like to feel trapped. Someone who understands that time is the most valuable currency. Someone who's willing to build slow and build smart. The business model she'd chosen had 3 core advantages over traditional employment, and she felt each one viscerally. First, scalability without presence. She could serve 10 clients or 30 clients without working significantly more hours because she'd built systems, templates, processes, things that could be replicated. Second, multiple income streams from one skill set. She wasn't just doing social media management, she was creating templates, consulting, teaching other mums her process. Each service reinforced the others, and none of them required her to be anywhere at any specific time. Third, and this was the one that made her breath catch, her income ceiling was entirely up to her. No more annual reviews, no more waiting for someone else to decide her value, no more trading hours for dollars in a ratio someone else controlled. Research from Small Business Analytics shows that home-based service businesses have a 78% survival rate after 5 years, significantly higher than brick-and-mortar startups. The overhead is minimal, the flexibility is maximum, and the market is hungry for people who can solve specific problems with skill and reliability. Her workspace was still her kitchen counter, but it no longer felt like chaos. It felt like possibility. Then came the test she didn't expect. Her son got sick, really sick, the kind of sick that requires doctor visits and monitoring and a parent who's present, not distracted. In her old life, this would have meant burning through sick days, anxious emails to her boss, guilt about leaving her team short-staffed. Now, she moved her laptop to the couch. She worked in 20-minute increments between temperature checks and soup deliveries. She rescheduled one call. Everything else happened anyway. That's when she understood the difference between flexibility and freedom. Flexibility is your boss letting you leave early. Freedom is not having to ask. What helped her the most wasn't just the tools she used, though they mattered. It was realizing that she didn't need permission to start small. She tested a few approaches before finding what truly worked. For her, Canva Pro made design accessible without the learning curve of professional software. Notion helped her organize client work and keep track of projects without drowning in spreadsheets. A simple ring light and budget microphone elevated her video calls from amateur to professional. This isn't a promotion. just something that made her path a little lighter. I'll leave suggestions below if you want to explore them. But the tools were never the point. The point was the mindset shift. From employee to entrepreneur, from waiting for permission to creating opportunity, from trading time for money to building systems that worked while she lived. By the end of year one, her business was bringing in $72,000, more than her previous salary, with a fraction of the stress and twice the presence with her family. She'd worked hard, learned constantly, failed at things and adjusted. But she'd done it on her terms in her time, building something that was entirely hers. What part of this resonates with you most? The model itself was endlessly adaptable. Virtual assistants, content creation, course development, bookkeeping, consulting, coaching. The specifics mattered less than the structure. Find a problem, develop a solution, deliver it remotely, repeat. Build relationships, not just transactions. Serve people well and they'll tell others. She met other women doing the same thing. A former teacher creating educational resources, a nurse offering telehealth consulting, an accountant doing fractional CFO work for startups. Each of them had left the 9-to-5 not because they were running from something, but because they were running towards something. Autonomy, purpose, the ability to define success on their own terms. Then came the moment that made everything real. Her daughter came home from school and said she wanted to start a business when she grew up. Just like mommy. Not a job, a business. Something she built, something that mattered, something that gave her choices. She breathed. Not because she'd figured it all out, but because she'd proven to herself that figuring it out was possible. That the safe path and the right path aren't always the same. That security isn't about a steady paycheck from someone else. It's about diverse income streams you control. It's about skills that can't be downsized or restructured or eliminated in a budget cut. When she poured her coffee the next morning, it was still hot, because this time she wasn't rushing. She was building. The business model that outsmarts the 9-to-5 isn't about working less, at least not at first. It's about working differently, strategically, with intention, building equity in yourself instead of someone else's company, creating leverage instead of just logging hours, designing a life where your presence matters more than your productivity. It's about recognizing that the industrial model of employment, the one we all absorbed without questioning, was designed for factories and assembly lines. It was never designed for knowledge workers, for mothers, for people whose value comes from creativity and problem-solving rather than physical presence. The world has changed, the tools have changed, but the script hasn't updated. Until now. Until you decide it does. Her workspace is still modest. Her business doesn't have a logo or a fancy website. She's not on the cover of Forbes. But she picks her kids up from school every day. She takes walks in the afternoon. She says yes to volunteer opportunities and coffee with friends and spontaneous trips to the park. She earns well, serves well, and sleeps well. And when people ask her what she does, she doesn't say she works from home. She says she runs a business from home. Because the distinction matters. One is about location, the other is about ownership. The model is simple, but it's not easy. It requires self-discipline without a boss watching, initiative without someone assigning tasks, confidence without external validation. It requires you to bet on yourself when everyone else is suggesting you play it safe. But the payoff isn't just financial, it's existential. It's waking up and knowing that your day is yours to design, that your income is yours to grow, that your time with the people you love isn't something you have to negotiate or justify. It's not a luxury, it's a choice, one that's more accessible now than ever before. Tell us what part of her story resonated with you most, and where you're watching from. Your journey might just inspire the next one. Tell us which country or city you're watching from. See you in the next video. Bye.